Welcome in to Trust the Process Live. As you can see, it is casual Monday for me. I'm not going to lie. Your boy's kind of down bad right now. He was out in the sun all day. I'm Northern Italian and Irish, so just the perfect storm to turn into a lobster when they're not even in season. It's just what it is. I applied the sunscreen too late. We're taking it easy today. All right, we're leaning back,
taking it easy.
And your casual host, his name's James Hyden, here with my guys, Doc Locke, Josh Saffron. You were there, but you had to go. How'd that interview go, big guy?
Interview went well. Now we await the result, as you do. Other than that, I want to take like a mini 30 at the top of the show, just to say, like we were talking about a little bit beforehand, but USA versus Mexico yesterday. Everyone was talking about this Logan Paul Mayweather fake fight, but your American soccer team, they're for real.
Could they be? Are they?
I'm telling you for a fact.
When we qualify for an Olympics or a World Cup, we will be real.
This ain't your dad's USA soccer team, all right? That's what I'll say.
Yes, CONCACAF Nations League, they get credit. But qualify for an Olympics and a World Cup, then we can return to relevancy.
Isn't the Gold Cup coming up?
There you go. That's a qualifier. There we go.
I couldn't tell you. It all happens.
Gold Cup.
World Cup's all that matters.
My guy, YG Young Gentleman James Jackson. How are you?
I'm good. I actually, I was also in the sun yesterday. Went to the beach, Ocean City, New Jersey. Sorry, I can't sympathize with you about the sunburn, my man. Got that natural sunblock going on, but I can sympathize with you for catching the rays. It was a good time. First beach day of the weekend. We did it right, man. Shout out my friend Ange for going with me. It was awesome.
Love that. The man of many digits, the one who may possibly give the Sixers one of those digits because they could use it. Max Coolish. How are you?
I'm good. I need to fix my camera. A little bit out of picture. There we go. I'm chilling. I'm good. I have a feeling I'm going to be fighting an uphill battle tonight with the Sixers. So
boy.
I'm ready to face my fate.
I'm ready for that fight, though. I want to hear this. All right.
Y'all going to have to defend yourselves today.
That's good.
Defend yourselves today.
Well, hey, you can hear Max fighting uphill battle wherever you get those podcasts.
There it is.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to them. Anchor. If you go right to Anchor and just listen through there, you're bold. But hey, if you do it, TTPL Philly Trust the Process Live, wherever you get your podcast, you can find us there and listen to Max fight the good fight here because he might not have too many supporters on this end. We're gonna jump right into it. Our main event. Boys, I think I think I'm a little bit down bad from the game yesterday too. I think the residuals are riding out. I'm not, I'm a little bit peeved about the 1:00 start times for the number 1 seed in the East. That gets me peeved. Like if we're gonna ruin my entire Sunday by making me wait. Like don't give me the 1:00 and then get
it. Felt like this past NFL season all over again.
Right.
My day's ruined by 4:00.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like don't ruin my whole day. Don't give me time to get over it by 8:00 because I feel like it's a weird feeling. Ruin my Sunday. That being said, do we blame Doc? Like, did Doc ruin my Sunday? Okay, is the loss in game 1 all on Doc Rivers, Josh Saffron?
Banners, I don't know who else it could be on. I mean,
here he goes.
125%. Glenn.
Oh my
God. Not
God.
even Doc. You know what? There's one Doc in Philadelphia again after game 1. That is on Glenn Rivers. And let me spell it out for you. And it's only been 24 hours, or I guess as you alluded to, 27 hours, give or take, since the tip-off of that basketball game. But how do you go down 25 or 26 in the first half with your entire bench unit on the court and you don't stop and think, hey, maybe one of my 2 all-stars and my fringe all-star, that is Tobias Harris, maybe we should throw them out there and stop the bleeding.
Because they turned the ball over 9 times in the first quarter.
Yeah,
and you guys ended up coming back.
The bench was keeping it even.
Go. I'm trying to go ahead, get your time, Josh. Go ahead, get your time, and then we're all gonna shoot you out the sky.
He already got his 30. He already got the 30.
Go ahead and get your time.
Near.
We are going to shoot you out the sky. Go ahead.
All right. Then how about your fancy defensive player of the year, the guy that you tell everyone to treasure for all the things he can do well? Instead, listen, I like Danny Green. I'm not putting blame on him because he was guarding a much quicker, a much faster Trae Young. It was so very clear after the first quarter, Trae Young was going to run right past Danny Green every single time, which opened up the entire game for the Atlanta Hawks. Next thing you know, all the defenders are rotating in on Trae Young's drive, and there's a wide open Herder. There's a wide open Bogan right in the corner. I blame this game 100% on Doc Rivers, and I don't really understand where else you could point a finger. The team clawed back. They did everything they could, but you know why they didn't win? Because he already lost the game in the first half. This game was over in the third quarter when they brought the starters back out, and it was still a 20-point lead. The Sixers did everything they could in the final few minutes, but I think Doc lost that game in the first half. He took too long to make those adjustments. And you know what I'll say? You know, I read about it in the papers. You see it on the news. Doc Rivers blows a series. Doc Rivers too stubborn. You say, that won't happen in my nice hometown. That won't happen in the city of brotherly love. And I'm seeing it in front of my own two eyes. This needs to change game 2, not game 4.
When the Sixers are up 3-1 after 4 games, I demand a 90-second
apology,
eye contact apology. I will do that.
If the Sixers go up 3-1, and if the Sixers win 4-1, I will write a manifesto apology to Doc Rivers.
Okay. And read it as the halftime.
Yes, with like written statement and everything. Yeah, 100%. Yep. Okay, done. I'll be happy.
Okay.
No, I agree to acknowledge it. Great to acknowledge it.
I'm gonna check tape on this one.
Check tape, man.
Yeah, this is here. YG, did Doc ruin my Sunday?
Josh, so quick, so hastily to point fingers at Doc Rivers. It's almost like you're conditioned over the last 3 years to blame your coach when stuff goes wrong. Doc don't take the court. Doc don't come out and think I got game 1 in the bag just because I'm the number 1 seed and I'm playing the Atlanta Hawks, who happen to struggle to win, their 4 games against the New York Knicks. That Doc doesn't take the floor and do that. And I almost hear you when you talk about he waited too long to make those adjustments. And he may have dug the Sixers in a hole or helped dug the Sixers in a hole. But Banners had already pointed it out when you talked about the starters not being on the floor, the 9 turnovers in the first half. It's like you earned that time on the bench. 9
turnovers in the first quarter, not in the first half.
First quarter. You put yourself on the bench doing that, and that's what happens if you're not playing well in the playoffs. I have to take people off the court who are hurting me. And right now, sorry, my stars, my best players are hurting me. Not only getting out hustled and getting out intensified in the game, but literally turning the ball over too much so that I can't leave them on the floor. And then you go in the locker room, you reset, you kind of knock them in the back of the head, and then you come out in the second half and you start to erase a 26-point deficit. So your disdain for Doc Rivers on game 1 is crazy to me because this is a 7-game series. This is not a one-and-done playoffs. This is not a 5-game series. This is a 7-game series. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
if the Hawks led, if that was the Hawks' best punch, if that's what the Hawks can give you for the series, they probably have lost because now you have to repeat that 3 more times before we do, and you just don't have the talent we do. All the Sixers have to do is win game 2 and game 3, and the series is reverted back to normal. But if you think the Sixers are going to come out and lose game 2 on their home floor, like I was all ready to spice this up and to make you guys sweat and worry, and you're making me go on the other side because, like, realistically speaking, this is a long series, and the Sixers got rocked with a heavy jab in round 1. Yeah, they did. So you got to go back to your corner, shake it off, and remember that you're the heavyweight favorite and go out and win the series. Like, you can get punched in the face one time. You got to respond now. And watch Doc Rivers have him respond. Like, the praise has got to be as loud as the disrespect was in game 2 if they come out and put the Hawks under the Wells Fargo Center, because that's Doc as well.
Well, JJ, I'm not worried about this series based on game 1, to be honest. I really feel full confidence that the Sixers will win this series.
So you just had to get something off your chest then to die?
Well, what makes me so upset is that was a winnable game yesterday. And that push in the second half, in any other game and like any other deficit that's not as bad as 26, you win the game. I mean, you make the decision to play Joel Embiid, who has a partial meniscus tear, 30 minutes before the game. You got Triple H coming to the game, ringing the bell with a sledgehammer, and that's the performance you put up on your home court as the heavyweight in game one. I mean, I thought that was, I mean, like, look, I think there's a lot of positives to be taken out of the second half and fourth quarter, and I really believe the Sixers are going to win. It's just what we've heard about Doc Rivers in his playoffs. I felt like I saw it flash before my eyes in game one, and I'm concerned that what has gotten him into trouble in previous years where he doesn't make those adjustments and he sticks to being too stubborn, I'm afraid we're going to see that happen again. Like, Danny Green is going to wind up covering Trae Young to start the game next game.
They've already said that Ben Simmons is going to be the primary defender on Trae Young in game two.
Max, before you go, really quick, Josh, the Lakers last year, what happened in game one, round one against the Blazers? They lost by 20. Yeah. What happened in game one, round two against the Rockets? They lost by 10. And those were the only two games that they lost. Then they ended up winning through the rest of the playoffs, winning the championship. You can lose game one. You can get punched in game one. It's all about how you respond. This is a 7-game series. And the best team on the planet last year did it twice in back-to-back rounds, and people barely remember it because they responded as the number one seed.
It's just, but they didn't lose by 20. They could have won.
They lost round. They were round one.
So why does it? So I don't understand how, like, where I get their negatives to take, but you lost by 4 when a team outperformed their season average by 15 points. When Trae Young, who's a 34% 3-point shooter, went 4 of 11 from 3-point. Like, it's,
Trae always cooks the Sixers. The Trae Young performance is not an anomaly to me. What is an anomaly is this Hawks made. Oh no, I actually pulled up the stats here.
They shot 42% from 3. They're not going to do that.
The Hawks made 23 pointers yesterday, which is 8 more than their season average. That is a huge discrepancy from the mean.
It's not going to happen.
Exactly. I don't think that's going to happen, and that's why I was so willing to challenge Josh on how I think the next couple of games will go. Quite honestly, we were talking on the side, and as we do when these events go on, I told you guys about 5 minutes into the second quarter that this game is chalked. I have already accepted this game as a loss. Maybe that helped me kind of stomach how things went down the stretch, but ultimately, I will say this, Josh, you're definitely not crazy for your criticism of Doc Rivers. Danny Green was getting cooked all first half. The fact that it was allowed to go on for as long as it did is definitely a detriment to him. But on the other hand, it's not like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are the ones that decided to start full court pressing with 5 minutes to go and give this team even a shooting chance to get back into that. That is honestly, I thought that last stretch where they were full court pressing, I think that's about as good as an example of great coaching as you are going to find. You know how hard it is to full court press for even a minute in the NBA? Like, what they did is, like, that is the equivalent of pulling your goalie in hockey with like 4 minutes to go when you're down 3 and it working. Like, that's the kind of
not even play
that it is. And the fact that they were able to claw back, at one point they got it to 2 points. The fact that they ever got it even remotely that close, Max, I think that's a testament to a pretty well-coached team, if I'm being honest.
But Max, to me, the analogy I have to that, it's you have that kid who's not doing the assignments all year. He's slacking. And then all of a sudden he looks at the calendar. He says, oh, no, final exams are creeping up on me. And he gets in all the late work. He takes those final exams, and it's still not enough. It still wasn't enough. Max, if they won the game, I agree with you totally. But you know what? If you don't pass the class, you're going to have to take it again. That's what happened yesterday. It was too little, too late. And I agree.
This was a pop quiz, though. This wasn't the final.
That's what I'm saying. There's not one chance at this thing.
This was the pop quiz you get on the third day of class to see if you're awake.
Yeah, but
I would love to have best of 7 finals just while we're on the subject. That'd be awesome. Just have to pass it 4 out of 7 finals. I'm Max, for that.
Max, and if we had best of 7 finals in college, I bet you 100% of students are failing the first day.
Right. 100%.
I got 4 more chances to get it.
I'm feeling that first test out big time. I'm trying to remember every single question. I don't even care what my answer.
Oh my goodness.
Let's be honest. We can't compare Doc Rivers, one of the better NBA, one of the best NBA coaches currently in the league, Pop notwithstanding. We can't compare him to how I went through college. Okay, let's not.
So unfair to Doc.
Let's call that what it is.
Before we move on, I just got to say, I think, JJ, I think you made a great point that the Hawks gave it everything they got, and they clawed out of there with the win. And honestly, that was a really, really impressive performance by them. Trae Young played great. Kevin Huerter was really important. John Collins was
Bogdan hit a big shot. Bogdan hit a big shot. Right.
I'm kind of upset that John Collins, who was checked out all year because he didn't get his contract picked up by Atlanta, he was just kind of coasting the regular season. And it seems like he came to play at least for this series. So hopefully, maybe he just kind of, has a bad game. He's a guy that's like, I don't want to say mentally fragile, but he's definitely like an emotional guy.
Yeah, he can
if he has 1 or 2 bad games in a row, he can just kind of fall off the face of the earth for the rest of the series type of deal. So I think that the Hawks deserve that win. I'm not going to take anything away from them, but I think seeing that full, complete body of work and seeing what happens when Thibault and Ben Simmons were the primary defenders or one of the 2 trapping defenders on Trae Young and seeing what that did to them. I mean, if Doc Rivers doesn't take advantage of that, then I will happily start berating him like you did, Josh. Happily.
No. I just think you're too quick to the punch, Josh. I think you were too ready to hit that button, to hit that panic button. If they come out with the same performance in game 2, Josh, if they come out with the same performance in game 2, next week we're all singing the same song that you're singing right now, buddy. Like we're just saying not yet. Like it's not his fault yet. Allow people to feel a game out. Allow people to make a mistake.
The Sixers play well. I mean, you want to talk about him leaving the bench, and the starters got outscored by 15 in the first quarter.
Now, if
42 in the first quarter.
If Doc is making,
he was terrible. He had a couple turnovers himself. None of them were impressive. Harris he had a good first half, but then he kind of went quiet in the third quarter. But that's kind of getting off topic. But I'll say this: I'm putting 50-50 on Doc and the players for that first half because it was bad all around. It wasn't. I don't think it was so much like it wasn't just the Danny Green on Trae Young thing. That wasn't the whole reason they were down by 15.
I'm not, and I am not smacking the panic button. Not unless they win. I mean, not unless the Sixers lose game 2. I'm smacking that panic button.
By halftime. If they're losing by halftime,
yeah,
the panic button.
I'll meet you there, JJ. But I guess you guys are like I am coming in hot, and it may be a little bit of an overreaction, but it is genuine because just to
You've seen it before. I get the hesitation. I totally understand it.
Hell, I was a fan of his team when he did it one time. I know.
You got it firsthand.
They could have won the game if Doc didn't make the moves he did in the first half. It took him too long. It's a quarter.
They played themselves into a 20-point halftime deficit. It was not all coaching. You don't come back from 20 down in the second round of the playoffs. That's just the teams that are good enough to make it to that point in the season, they don't let you come back from 20 down.
But Doc, I just felt like he could have stopped the bleeding just a little bit by throwing Simmons or Toby in there with that bench lineup, and he just left them in for like 2 minutes too long. And when it really came down to it, that was the difference I felt in the end. It was just way too much to overcome. And I mean, it's tough to say because it was so early in the game. But like you said, Max, you can't overcome a 20-point deficit in the playoffs. And he let it get that bad in the first half to me. Not smacking the panic button. I think this team will win the series. But I'm just so frustrated over that game 1 because it was winnable. And I'm worried he wasted an Embiid game.
Well, I mean, he gave you 38 minutes, so I don't know if I'm too worried about the wasting Embiid games at this point. And he looked a little ginger at points, but all right. So we talked about Doc there. What point or what part of the Sixers game are you still confident in? Okay, so what we talked to, notwithstanding Doc, let's take the Doc Rivers coach job out of it, or first half coach job.
Fair play.
What part are we still confident about? And I'll get mine out of the way real quick. I am extremely confident that John Collins going 3 for 4 from the 3-point line and Danny Green going 0 for 4 from the 3-point line is not going to continue. I think that trend gets way closer to the mean or just flat out reverses right there. I'm extremely confident in that point. So Max, what part of the Sixers game are you still confident in?
Am I allowed to say Joel Embiid?
Yeah,
100%.
Okay, because honestly, for how terrible he was in the first quarter, and the fact that he basically didn't play the second quarter at all, he still finished with 39 points or 35 points. He still had a monstrous game. Like
39.
I'm willing to bet that if he sniffs 40 again in game 2, things will be as we expected them. So I still feel really confident in that. And I will say this: he was definitely a little too reliant on the jumper, maybe. but he was hitting them. He was definitely favoring that little half step back fadeaway jumper that he likes to do.
Hey, 39 points in 38 minutes from a guy with a partially torn meniscus. Meniscus. I think you take that every time. 1 for 3 from the arc or from behind the arc. You can't really ask for much more from your big guy right there. So what, JJ? What are we still confident in?
I'm still confident in Seth Curry's ability to come out shooting and provide such a spark to this team of all the bad that we're talking about. It took us way too long into this episode to give Seth Curry his shout out and his props for his game 1 performance.
Right here for Seth.
And game 5.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of the Sixers, like, I hope you're awake now. Like, I called this the Sixers alarm clock moment where, like, I hope that this one kind of punched you in the face, this one woke you up, and now it's time to get out of bed and handle our business throughout the rest of the series. And the only person who didn't hit the snooze on that alarm clock seemed to be Seth Curry, just coming out and firing, playing confident, running all around the court, just creating opportunities for himself. And then also, when the Sixers needed everybody to lock in on the defensive end, Seth Curry was out there trying to lock up too. And that was just great to see him buying into the culture of, like, we're still a defensive team, especially when we need to call back into a game. He knew how to turn on the defensive end as much as he could as well. So that's what I'm confident in is Seth Curry kind of bringing that Splash Brother type DNA to the Sixers of just, when I'm hot, it's an unconscious barrage of threes and to help him claw right back into that game.
I love that. Seth's got a quiet hunger about him.
Quiet,
you know what I mean?
Like, barking that stuff to the crowd. Like, that's what I like to see.
A quiet hunger. Everybody, I mean, obviously, you know who his brother is, you know who his dad is. Everybody looks at Seth Curry as the second brother. You know what I mean? He's a quiet, reserved guy, and undoubtedly so. His brother's the best shooter to ever play the game of basketball. But he wants to win as badly as anybody else. So, Josh, we said Embiid. We said the 3-point shooting of John Collins and Danny Green, and we said Seth Curry. What are you confident in?
Well, my first answer is Joel Embiid. Max took the words right out of my mouth. Like, I see meniscus tear. I think back to the infamous ESPN game against the Rockets, and I start trembling. So to see him out there, like you said, 39 minutes, 38 points. That is, like, that's everything right there. But what I'm still feeling confident about is a direct reaction to this game, and it's the Sixers defense, because you can watch that game and say, Hawks shot making ability. The Sixers looked like they were scrambling. The second-rated defense in the league, not looking like the second-rated defense in the league. But, I came out real negative and really harping on Doc. But you got to look at that end of the game, because it looked like, clearly they're not going to play full court trap for 48 minutes of basketball. It's just simply unsustainable. But the way they started doubling Trae on those picks, on the pick and rolls, instead of letting Trae Young get everything, I think you're a Ben Simmons / Matisse Thybulle on Trae Young, and just what they were doing and doubling Trae on the picks. I think you're right back at it next game, and I think JJ. I think we've all said it. There's just no way the Hawks make the shots the way they did. So all things considered, yeah, the Hawks put up 42 points. They put up 128 in the whole game in a playoff game. I'm still confident in the defense. I think this game will be the anomaly from the series, and the Sixers are going to be able to contain it and play more of their game.
All right. Really quick before we move on, just to kind of touch on that, this was something I've been meaning to at least bring up, and I don't know how it didn't click for me to answer it this way. I'm feeling very confident in the Sixers' ability to close out games. Based on you being able to do that for 5 minutes, I feel really good about your chances of being able to do that for 1 or maybe 2 minutes.
I gotta see them do it while they're up in this series too, to be confident.
Bro. Okay, that's fair.
It's different to claw back, but if they were up 20 and closed out, even if they still won by 10, 12 points.
You said in this series.
In this series.
Okay.
In this series. In this series. Like, against the Wizards, just normal, an 8 seed difference.
Yeah,
I gotta see it in this series.
And Max, just to piggyback off that real quick, that crowd was unreal. Like, that crowd was they were really willing.
I literally teared up at the end. They got it so close. I was like, oh my God, that is beautiful.
My 30,
right, can I give it to him? Yeah,
my
give it
30,
to him.
Can I re-answer this question?
Go, yeah.
I'll give it to y'all. You know what I'm still confident in? The ability for Sixers fans to show out at the Wells Fargo Center. I'm watching this game on TV, and I'm like, Dad, I know it's loud in there. Like, I know they're in there hype, going crazy and making it as hard as possible for any road team to come to that venue. So of all the people who didn't show up to this game 1 of the second round, the fans was not part of that. Like the fans were not one of them. Y'all, and you stayed with the team. Y'all could have. There's some boos. There were some boos going out,
but they got all the support they need.
All the support in the world. And when the Sixers started climbing back in it, you can just hear and feel kind of the spot of the fans behind the Sixers as they're trying to climb up this mountain and make this comeback. Like that's what I'm confident in is for y'all crazy asses to still pack the Wells Fargo Center and ride for your guys.
I don't know why I haven't made this connection before. Philadelphia boos are different than boos everywhere else.
100%.
Is that? Can I say that?
Yeah.
Remember when I said Philly has the best home court advantage in all sports? It's that. Yeah. The boo isn't like we don't like you. You're doing that. Boo is
mean-hearted.
Yeah, it's like come on. We know you're better than that. We know you're better than that. Let's go.
And to just keep going on that, like they knew when to like get excited, even when they were down 20. Like they'd like golf clap if there was a layup, but if somebody if they got to stop in a 3, like the crowd knew like, okay, come on guys, come on. Yeah. They weren't getting overexcited either. And the other thing, Max, about closing out games, I don't want this to bite me, but I'm not scared of going to Atlanta. Like, what kind of home court advantage is that? Like, I'll say it. I'm not.
You'd be surprised, man. Atlanta,
they might show out. This is the best.
The celebrities are going to show out. The celebrities are going to show out.
Atlanta's been cooped up, and Holland
is a. Let's not talk them up too much here. Like, let's not act like Atlanta is a traditional
no. I just
underwhelming sports town. They are. They're a very underwhelming sports town for the quality of teams that they've had and as many good teams as they've had.
Oh, I'm not talking about the quality of sports fan. I'm saying Atlanta is a city that's been cooped up, and if you can get them to a playoff series, doesn't matter what, they will get a ruckus.
The Braves went to the NLCS last year. They've seen some success.
Yeah, but it's the Braves. You know what I mean?
Bulldogs football, they don't care.
All right, so we talked a little bit about what we're confident in right there. And Josh, actually, to piggyback off of your point, the next question is going to be, what would you alter about the Sixers game plan going forward? And mine, I think, actually goes right off of what you said, Josh. And I think it's time to start Matisse Thybulle. And I say start Matisse Thybulle by putting Danny Green on the bench.
Yep.
Because to me, this gives you a very good opportunity to find out who your second guy is behind Ben Simmons for guarding the Nets, or let's say the Bucks.
Oh, 100%.
This to me is okay. You now have to, and I'll keep this. This point is very dependent on Joel Embiid playing every game, or at least every game that matters. Okay, that's because when you're taking Danny Green out, obviously the offense now is specifically through Tobias, Seth, and obviously Joel Embiid is your number one. Obviously, you hope he gets you 39 points in 38 minutes. But you need to figure out who your number 2 guy is to stop and where he's going to go on that 3-headed monster, or with now the emergence of Drew Holiday in Milwaukee alongside Middleton and Giannis. So to me, I'm starting Thybulle and I'm figuring out what that defensive rotation looks like throughout the bench when you decide to get into your 8th, your 9th man with this 76ers squad. Does that, am I off base here, guys?
I feel you. I feel you. And let me go next because I feel what lane you're in. I'm just sidecar right. Because
cool.
I think
we're running parallel on 95.
Yeah, yes, sir. I'm on 80, you're on 95. We're going the same route. Yeah. And
we're all stuck in the same traffic, you know.
Because I understand attacking it from the defensive mindset, and I think that's what I'm gonna do too. I wouldn't start Thybulle because what I want to do is Doc should treat his team like it is one of the most, if not the most, versatile defensive teams in the league. Give me different defensive looks. We've seen emergencies of a 2-3 zone, that 3-2 zone where now you bring Matisse Thybulle off the bench, and it's a nightmare at the perimeter for teams because you literally can't see passing lanes. Different people on Trae Young, which is to your point, Josh. Cycling different people and different defensive looks. Like those are the main points. And I think if Doc really gets a little spicy with the Sixers on defense, throw Atlanta off their rhythm. Like they're coming in riding a lot of momentum from that Knicks series, riding a lot of momentum from game one, and now it's time to throw something that just makes them like stop and pause for a second, and that's all that you need. Just throw their rhythm off, and then now it's talent versus talent when they don't have momentum anymore, and the Sixers win that battle. Like, just give them some defensive looks, and maybe as I'm talking about this, maybe you do start the eyeball and you come out hot. With that
so that's kind of where I wanted to go, because
maybe.
you in your mind, you like Doc Rivers and us having watched so much Sixers basketball, you know what that 3-2 and that 2-3 zone looks like when you're putting it out there. So you don't need to see that, and you don't want to give people too many looks at that when you don't have to.
Right. It might be too early in the series, but
see where that matches up. You know what I mean? I'm going strictly man. I'm saying, Matisse, what are we going to do? I know Ben is who he is. Danny is not going to cut it against these smaller, shiftier guys, and you got to deal with, I mean, let's be honest, Ben is probably going to be on Kevin Durant for a lot of.
I would not throw a zone at the Nets. I would not throw a zone at the Nets. We might have to go man to man.
No, you got to go man. So that's why I'm starting Matisse, and I'm going, okay, where do you fit in? Are you my 2 or are you my 3? Are you on Harden or are you on Kyrie? That's you gotta show me. We got to figure it out.
I can dig it.
So I actually had this exact sentiment typed, like literally fully typed out to you guys yesterday, and I decided not to send it, partially because I wanted to bring it up on the show, and partially because I thought it would get hit with a lot of blowback.
No.
I guess that would have been the easiest time to do it because of how bad Danny Green played. But anyway, I digress. So another reason I had this thought is that shifting Danny Green to the bench, and this kind of goes along with Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey is clearly going to get minutes in this playoffs. Doc gave him only less minutes than the Stars and Matisse yesterday. Expect to see Maxey. He's our energy plug. He's our spark plug. And I think putting Danny Green on a unit with him would give him more unit to operate. You have another guy who's very willing to just stand in the corner. Matisse Thybulle is not a guy who trusts his shot nearly as much as Danny Green. Matisse likes to cut. He likes to backdoor. He likes to play the offensive glass. I think giving Maxey someone else to, kind of give him that, hey, slow it down. Like, give me the ball. Give me the ball. Danny Green's not a ball handler, but he knows, hey, give me the ball right now. I'll get it to George Hill, or we'll slow it down. I'll give it back to you. Just like I see that look in your eyes. We need to chill for an extra 3 seconds while we have this lead. Even little things like that. I think that Danny Green could be a really good fit with a Tyrese Maxey-led second unit where it's more clear-cut, where it's him and George Hill. And you can – the only issue with putting Thybulle in with Simmons is that he would just not need to start taking the shots that Danny Green does. And I think that you get him the quality of looks that Danny Green got, I think he'd be a little bit more willing to.
Right.
That's kind of the X factor here.
Yeah, but I get the defensive side, but you might be sacrificing too much of the offensive side where, yes, you bring in a lockdown defender, but you take pivotal shooting off the floor.
Well, but let's be honest, though. Danny Green has been taking too many of those threes while Seth Curry is this hot.
Yeah.
Does that? Am I wrong?
But for if I hate to bring Ben into this conversation because it really doesn't deserve any slander here. But if you had a point guard who stayed in the perimeter, yes, you could afford to take a shooter off the floor. But you need as many drive and kick guys. I did it lightly. I didn't slander him too much. But you need as many drive and kick guys on the floor as possible, at least to start the game. Like at least to start. There's going to definitely be a lineup where Matisse plays with Ben and probably the rest of the starters, and maybe we see that 3-2 zone. But to start out the game, I don't think you can take that shooter off the floor. I just don't think you can do it.
And the thing is, like, Danny Green has some really good looks. Like, there was at least 2 I can remember where Simmons did his classic, like, shooters right behind me. I'm going to do my little elbow screen, and I'm going to give them a nice wide pocket to shoot the ball from. And there was at least 2 of those that Danny Green missed. One of them was kind of ugly. But that's the thing. Like, I feel like Matisse Thybulle is willing to take, like,
yeah, but it's gonna be an ugly miss for Matisse too. Like it's more likely to go in if Danny Green shoots it.
2 for 4 yesterday.
Hey, I get it. It's more likely to go in if Danny
because when you have less dynamic offensive playmakers on the court like you do with a bench unit, you have less time to really think. That's why we see a lot of guys just kind of excel in that sharpshooter off the bench role. Like, I'm going to stand in the court. Like, think of like Wayne Ellington, for example. Like, he's always good for a couple of these games a year. He does nothing every other game he plays in, but every so often he'll make 4 or 6 of 3 in 8 minutes or something like that, just because he's in the right place and is just a guy with a quick trigger. Danny Green clearly has the willingness to shoot, and I think giving him the minutes on the backup unit where you maybe kind of need to be a little bit more willing to force a shot even when you're not doing too well personally, I think we can all agree that we've seen Danny Green be willing to take shots when they're not dropping for him. Like a lot of good players do that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying that Matisse Thybulle he's not going to do that. You don't need him to do that when he's out there with the stars. So I think Banner's made a good point. I think we'll see it. It feels inevitable that we'll see it at some point, but who knows if that's this series.
Not to get too ahead of ourselves, say you do win this series and the Nets win the next series, there's definitely going to be a middle of the Eastern Conference Finals where Doc inserts Matisse in the starting lineup as it's all defense, all go now. We're locking up.
And I think we're overlooking Danny Green adding serviceable defense to that second unit. Let's not.
Was known as a 3-and-D guy when he came in. Was also noted for.
He shouldn't be on Trae Young, but let's not just all of a sudden act like Danny Green's a trash defender.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm.
So you know what I mean.
By the way, shout out
Josh. Josh, what are you altering? What did you see that you would change, and why would you change it?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I was gonna say what Banners and Max just said. So you know what? I want to get a little bit spicier then, because why not? I don't want to be unoriginal here.
Should the Sixers fire Doc Rivers right now?
They should just hire Brett Brown for game 2, Max. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. But no, I think they should play some college basketball schemes. Because you know what? That last 6 minutes, it felt like a March Madness game to me, to be quite honest, with the frenzying, the run and jumping. And no, they should not do that every time. But I think they should do a few things. One, I think they should just blitz the Hawks with a full court trap at random times, which I've seen implemented in the college game where it's like, oh, you're getting too comfortable? Bam, we're going to create some chaos. Secondly, I think you should stagger the bench. Because if you have a performance like yesterday where all 5 of your bench guys are just dookie, you got to throw Toby out there. Like throw Toby out there just as a guy to be like, hey, you need someone to make an open mid-ranger? Go do it, because clearly none of these guys can do it.
They were dookie, Josh?
I wish that wasn't the case, but can you tell me I'm wrong, JJ?
No, I can't. I haven't heard someone be called dookie in a long time.
That was good.
Family
friendly. Family friendly, Josh.
That was hilarious. Keep going.
The last one, I want to throw this one out to you guys because I don't think I've seen this really happen in the NBA that I can think of. What about a box and one? We've talked about zones.
I actually kind of like that.
But what if you box and one and have Ben Simmons on Trae Young? Ben Simmons gets a foul. All right,
Too many shooters on the floor for the Hawks. Too many shooters on the floor.
Yeah.
No. You leave Kevin Huerter and Bogdan that open. There's too many shooters on the floor. You're gonna get hurt.
I feel like you're too condensed. That works in college because the shooters are way worse in college.
You gonna get hurt.
I don't know though.
Nah, you gonna get hurt.
I think
NBA
What's
shooters.
the point of condensing everything if you're going to play a zone? Just play a 2-3 zone at that.
Just play a 3-2 zone. Yeah. There's just because Trae Young's not going anywhere but the top of the key or driving. Trae Young doesn't sit in the corner, so most of the time Ben or Matisse are going to have a general range of where Trae Young is, and when he's in their zone, it pretty much turns into a box and one anyway because my focus is on Trae Young. But to condense it like that. It just leaves too much space on the floor.
The corners, you're dead to the corners.
And these are good shooters on the Hawks. Kevin Huerter and Bogey are really good shooters.
Let's not call them good shooters.
Kevin Huerter is
a good shooter.
They're both good shooters. They're both good shooters. I'm not calling them all-world shooters.
Real good shooters.
I'm not calling them all-world shooters, but they're too good to give that much space on a box and one. They're too good.
No, I see your point of the 2-3 kind of turning into a box and one, but it's just like, to me, Trae Young's going to take 10 to 13 3-pointers. So why not just give it up and sell out and really kind of put the press on him?
No,
here's the thing. Who else on the Hawks can beat you?
That's exactly what I was about to say, JJ. That's exactly what I was about to say.
So why limit yourself? That makes the box and one makes even less sense to me. Why take one of your best defenders, focus him on Trae Young, and leave the rest of the team? Like if Trae Young's the only one that can do it,
because exactly your point. They're the most versatile defensive team in the NBA. That box and one. And you said it exactly. The 2 and 3 in the box and one are pretty much the same thing because you can cover that ground. Mm-hmm. So you force Trae into that. Hell, I'll have him take 16 3-pointers if he really wants to because he's going to make 5 of them. You know what I mean? So I don't
And
you can cover that ground, especially if you do put Matisse in that starting lineup. That like you can call it dead to the corners. That's only when the ball's at the key because it looks like it, but you're covering that ground when you need to.
Mm.
And like, I mean, I would just say this because like I totally, the box and one might be like a bit of a stretch because Herder and Bogdan will kill you, but I mean, it's you saw it happen.
Why are you saying they'll kill you? The Hawks averaged 114 points during the season. Let's not
That's
act
because
like
no one played a box and
brothers.
one. That's because no one played a box and one. If teams played a box and one on them, they'd be shooting 60% for the three. I promise you, they're too good of shooters, man.
That's a risk I'm willing to take. Like dare Bogdanovich and Kevin Herter to beat you. Like you saw with the Mavericks. That's what the Clippers just did to the Mavericks.
Daring to beat you, yes. Daring them to beat you and giving them a path to beat you are two different things.
Bogdan shot
is giving them a path to beat you.
Okay, Trae Young went 4 of 11 and Bogdan went 5 of 12.
They're two. Because you didn't play a box and one. Like if you play a box and one, they're gonna have too much room. Like
I'm trying to shake it up. I think it would be fun.
At least try it.
Let's have some fun here.
Dare them. You know what I mean? Dare them. Hell, you know what? You guys want to take 40 combined threes between the two of you? That's fine. Here, take 10 of them, and we'll see you. You know what I mean? Does that?
Yeah, if they make 10 of the first 18, scrap it. I mean, I wouldn't let it get that far, but
I wouldn't get that far. It wouldn't get that far.
Banners, do we have a halftime? Because I can give a little. To me, it's a little shocking news. Let's look down on my phone for the halftime. Did I jump?
I'm gonna do the. I'm gonna give a little shout out to our guys at PHL, but then I'll toss it to you. I think we got one more. Yeah, we got one more question in the main event. We'll get through it real quick. If the Sixers, oh boy, I'm gonna read this one straight from. If the Sixers want to make it out of the East, blank needs to step up. Blank out of the East. Blank needs to step up. JJ, I'm coming to you first.
It's a little Johnny on the spot here. And also I think we're projecting because when you're down 1-0 in a series, let's focus on getting through the series first before we get through the East. But what I'm gonna say is Danny Green has to step up and not step up overall for a whole series. He's got to step up for moments. I think if the Sixers are going to make a deep run, it's going to have to include one or two of a moment that Danny Green had to get them out. Like he struggled for much of the playoffs last year, but with the Lakers in the finals, he gave the Lakers 2 or 3 moments that LeBron that even led to LeBron in post-game press conferences saying that's why we still pass the ball to Danny Green. That's why Danny Green is on the team, because he makes shots like that. I think that's what he has to bring to the Sixers if they're going to make it out of the East, if they're going to win the finals. There's going to have to be a moment or two where you go, that's why we got Danny Green. That's why Danny Green's here.
I like it. Josh, blank needs to step up if the Sixers are going to make it out of the East.
Tobias Harris, and I think this one. I mean, I liked your answer with Danny Green because you said in the big moments, but I think for 48 minutes it needs to be Tobias Harris. I mean, I don't want to go down the Ben Simmons road. We've done it the last 2 weeks, and I think I've come to the conclusion, that Ben Simmons does not need to do more, as in he does not need to score more, but someone does. And that person's Tobias Harris, and that's what he was brought here to do. Look, I don't want to go down the road of bashing Toby because he proved me wrong all season, but I can't remember his exact points, like 36 or something against the Wizards. That's great with Bertans on you or whoever, but it's starting to get more real, and I don't want Toby shying away from the moment. I want Toby being that legitimate second option on offense. And, it's only one game, but it just doesn't feel that way, and I feel like the eye test, you're starting to see a little bit more of that hesitant Toby. He did turn it on a little bit late in the game, and I got to give him credit for that. And I hope it'll continue. But you're not making it out of the East if Tobias Harris isn't dropping at least 25, not 25 a game, but averaging, let's say 25 in these series.
Okay. He had a quiet 20 points, but there were major lulls there.
15 at halftime, which is
it looked like it was going to be like a 27, 29 point night for Harris, and it ended up being a 20-point night, it shouldn't have been that way. So Max, blank needs to step up if the Sixers are going to make it out of the East.
I gotta say it, Joel Embiid. He's gotta play like the #1 player in the league. You want to win a title, you gotta be unquestionably the best player on the floor on both sides of the ball at all times. And guess what? He can still score at will, but he still cannot figure out how to make a good pass sometimes. And guess what? 3 turnovers in a quarter, doesn't matter what quarter it is, what game in a series it is. That is bad. There's a reason that he ended up on the bench for 10 minutes straight in the first half because he wasn't attacking he wasn't passing the ball well. He wasn't really being aggressive. He was cool with taking his jump shots, and he had a great game. But statistically, they didn't win. So why does it matter, right? Mm-hmm. I gotta see the full offensive side of things. I can't see the demanding foul calls. I gotta see you finishing through things. I don't want you to be reliant. This is not the regular season anymore. I don't want to make it seem like he is not already pulling his weight. But you want to win a title, your best player needs to be the best player that's in the playoffs. That's how it happens every year.
I love it.
You want to win a title, you got to go be better than KD in a Nets Sixers series.
I love it. I love the accountability. No, I love the accountability.
Max,
I love it because 39 and 13 can be misleading sometimes. It can be deceitful, and I think you broke it down, Max. Like I love it.
I mean, Max, I see where you're coming from, but to me, it's like if this is on me, it's on me. But I'm cutting the guy some slack because of this meniscus thing. Like I see 39 and 13 with a torn meniscus, and you're just announced playing 30 minutes before the game. Like
you're playing.
Here's the thing, Josh. Here's the thing. Let someone like Russell Westbrook have 39 and 13, and his team is getting blown out. You know how much shit Russell Westbrook is taking.
I mean, he probably took 50 shots.
But it goes to Max's point that you could have 39 and 13, but if your team didn't win the game, the 39 and 13 doesn't matter. Like you have to be the one to step up and will your team to a victory.
That wasn't a game where Joel Embiid was the shining star and still at 39-13 and they lost. He was just as at fault as everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I need him to not have. So he was 39 and 9 with was a 4 assists and 3 blocks. So the thing that ruins that night is the 4 turnovers, and the 4 turnovers seem to come all on a run, which help contribute digging that hole. I'm going to say one of George Hill, Matisse Thybulle, and Tyrese Maxey needs to step up, because last night you barely had a 6-man because Matisse came on, scored 10 points on 50% shooting from behind the arc, and he was still a -10. So I'm not even going to get into what I mean. Maxey did not have a great game. He provided a little bit of energy, but George Hill did not play a good 11 minutes. You need to have someone, because when the starters come out and turn it over 9 times in the first quarter, you need to at least have, like, I'm not going to say an answer, but someone to stop the bleeding and give you 5 to 7 minutes to go reset. You need somebody to put a gauze patch on that and say, hey, champ, go take a seat real quick, figure it out, and get back to me.
And get back,
yeah. Go take a seat. Go get some Gatorade. Go stretch it out. Go roll it out on whatever those foam rollers are, and get right back to me. I'm going to see you in 6 minutes. You better be right, because right now, or last game, I'll say, because George Hill has been a very pleasant surprise. Or I would say pleasant surprise. George Hill has been exactly what he is advertised as.
He's been pleasant.
He was not last night, and Matisse cannot continue to be a -10 as the guy who was just campaigning for him to be in the starting lineup. He can't be a -10. And Maxey's a rookie. Dwight Howard needs to do a little bit more as well, but obviously I'm not counting on Dwight Howard to be an integral part of everything. Dwight Howard has a role. We all know what that is. Come in, be the rim protector, since Joel can't be the full rim protector that he always was. So one of those guys needs to step up, because they did not last night. That's going to do it for our main event, our halftime, before we get into what JJ just saw come across the waiver or the news line real quick. So we got a presenting sponsor, and they've helped us out with a bunch of awesome guests in the past, like Brandon Apter, Mr. Jolliker. I got it right that time. Jolliker. I'm only going to call you Mr. Jolliker just because I like saying your name right. And that's PHL Sports Nation. Our friends over at PHL Sports Nation are awesome. You guys got to check them out. PHL Sports Nation, a local Philadelphia sports site covering your favorite teams across blogs and social media. PHLSportsNation.com, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. Like we said, go check them out wherever you can. Twitter, they have amazing blogs for each of the Philadelphia sports. Thanks again to our guys over there at PHL Sports Nation. JJ, what? I'm intrigued. What do we got?
I don't know if I'm as shocked as you guys are, or if I'm more shocked than you guys will be about this news. Tom Thibodeau wins Coach of the Year, as just announced, sweeping it right under one Monty Williams of the Phoenix Suns.
Huh.
I don't know.
When Monty Williams has already won the coach's vote for Coach of the Year.
Coach's vote doesn't mean anything.
I know, but it's just like that's like if the peers vote you. Then all the people who don't matter voted for somebody else.
Let's be real though. Before this year, and not like without the Suns, what the Suns are doing now, I don't think has any effect on Draymond Green speaking absolute truth about the overall market of Phoenix when he made those comments about Devin Booker, which I think is. I think that's completely wrong because what they're doing and what Monty Williams is doing is absolutely incredible. It's Tibbs. It's Tibbs though. Like he came back. New York,
and it's the Mecca. I get it. It.
The basketball is better when the Knicks are good. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
and that's this whole year was about give the Knicks their props. Be happy for the Knicks. Go congratulate the Knicks. And this is just the next installment of that. But let me ask you this question: which is more impressive? Straight up honest question: the Suns as the number 1 seed or the Knicks as the number 4 seed? What's more impressive this season? All context included, what is a more impressive result? The Suns or the Suns is the number 2 seed or the Knicks is the number 4 seed?
I'm gonna say the Knicks is the number 4 seed, bro.
Really?
I'll say it's
in the Western Conference.
I'll say it's the Knicks for one reason and one reason only. It's LeBron James and Anthony Davis being hurt for so long. Like I don't know. It just
let's not do that. Let's not completely no. What the Suns are doing is incredible. But let's.
Jokic had an MVP season. Kawhi and Paul George were great for most of the regular season. Like the Jazz were the best team in basketball.
I'm a little surprised here. I shouldn't. I don't want to say surprised isn't like I didn't see this coming because I would say this is a pretty deserving victory. For
right.
Like,
they're good for Tibbs.
I don't think this is one you can get mad at. But yeah, if I was putting my money down on this, I probably would have taken Monty Williams. I thought that it's one thing to have expectations, but it's and blow them out of the water, especially in a much tougher conference.
I would have given it to Monty Williams, like personally, like just to see the development of that team when you add pretty much one piece in Chris Paul. But I just think it was because, Banners, you kind of alluded to it about basketball's better when the Knicks are better. And did anybody have the Knicks as even a playoff team? Like I feel like people didn't
have the Knicks as a bottom 5 team, probably, yeah,
easily.
Yeah, so I think that's
but
where
people had the Suns right the one tier above that. The Suns were supposed to be 8-9 seed in the West. Like they weren't supposed to be the 2 seed, and they had the 1 seed for 2 weeks.
No, that's because that's the good counter. But I think it's tie goes to the bigger market, low key.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's a tie though. Like one franchise has Devin Booker and Chris Paul without bringing in all the other decently large names of the Suns. The other one has a nobody knew Julius Randle had this in him.
Nobody.
And besides Julius Randle, who's on the Knicks? And don't you dare give me RJ Barrett.
Nerlens Noel, baby.
Right? Am I like that's
but
Tibbs took a year off. Tibbs took a year off and actually pulled the Mike McCarthy well. Mike McCarthy took a year off and said he was studying football and learning new ways. No, shut up, Mike. Tibbs actually took a year off and kind of integrated the grinded out defensive style with a little bit more modern basketball. So I would have liked I like Monty and the Suns a lot more than I do the Knicks. But good job, Tibbs. You know what I mean?
And not hating on the man. Won't hate on Tibbs. Won't hate on him.
You can easily.
Just a little surprise.
I hate on Tibbs. I hated on Tibbs until this Knicks team. Honestly, like I don't
really ever hate on Tibbs. I think he was a little bit of a jackass. His last couple of years with the Bulls and with the Timberwolves too. But
I think he's a pretty prime example of a regular season coach. Not to say that he's a bad coach in terms of what he does. It's just the fact that he just rides his top 5 or 6 guys into the ground. So by the time the playoffs come, they are just shot.
Yep. All right, boys, we're going to get into our second half here, and we're going to run through rapid fire here on the NBA playoff roundup. We did a pretty good job there covering one of the matchups left in these NBA playoffs.
Get ready. Only 50 minutes per every other matchup, right?
Yeah, hey, run through them real quick. So let's see, Josh, I'm going to start with you. Jazz versus Clippers. Round it up for me.
Man, I think the Jazz are going to win this in 6 games. I really wanted to say Clippers. Like, I don't like the Clippers, but like I wanted to say it. I just want to say I think this is going to be a terrible series. Like, I think these games are going to be decided by 20 points. It's either going to be the Jazz are going to make everything, or they're going to go cold, and the Clippers are going to make their boring mid-rangers and just seal the deal. Like, I can just see this being the worst series that kind of feels like it's going back and forth, and then the Jazz just blow them out 2 games in a row, and sayonara Clippers. So, not very sexy, and that's all I got. Jazz winning 6.
JJ, Jazz v. Clippers.
Jazz in 6. The Clippers only beat the Mavericks because there's more talent on the Clippers roster, top to bottom, than there is on the Mavericks, so they just outlasted them. But one team plays with energy, and one team barely looks like they want to be there on a nightly basis. I will say this. I called game 6, or I called game 7 Kawhi's legacy game, and he came out and gave a 45-point performance to beat the Mavericks, so I give him props for that. But if he doesn't get significant help from Paul George, which he's not getting, they're not going to beat the Jazz. I'm off of Kawhi. Kawhi was very steady through that last series, but if Paul George can, like, he's not even out of the doghouse for me. Like, that series that he turned in against the Mavericks doesn't beat the Jazz, so I'm giving Jazz in 6.
All right, Max A Million, Jazz v. Clippers.
I'm gonna do it, boys. Clippers
no.
in 6.
Clippers in 6?
No,
Chip City.
Not in 6. No.
I think this is one of those classic situations where you overthink it, and just everything you think just ends up being wrong. This is one of those ones where just everything makes so much sense for one side that naturally the unpredictable nature of sports just gravitates everything towards the side that it shouldn't be on. And I just can't shake that feeling for this game. The Jazz have a great roster to slow down the Jazz in terms of being able to throw one of Kawhi, Paul George, or Pat Beverly at Donovan Mitchell and Jordan Clarkson at all times, which I think is a pretty big advantage for the Jazz, or excuse me, for the Clippers. And thankfully, the Clippers are probably the only team left in the playoffs, maybe besides the Six, or excuse me, maybe the whole team left in the playoffs at all, that just is totally cool with having their big man do the same thing as the Jazz do with Rudy Gobert, which is like nothing on offense. And obviously Gobert is a much better player than Zubac, but like Rudy Gobert is not a guy that, like, I don't want to sound disrespectful, but like he's not the guy that you worry about beating, if that makes sense. Like, he's the guy you worry about messing you up on offense and disrupting you, but he's not the guy you worry about beating you. And I think the fact that the Clippers play so from the wings will really play into their advantage throughout the series.
Well, Max, I mean, just going off that real quick, you got me just a little bit excited about this series, just a little bit, because I think this will be the series where everyone will really learn who Donovan Mitchell is. Because, I mean, I got my chips here, and I'm ready to say superstar. I'm ready to say superstar.
The bubble told us who Donovan Mitchell was in this whole season.
Don't talk to me about that Disney bubble, JJ.
The bubble didn't tell us anything, apparently.
Apparently not.
All right, I'm going Jazz in 7, and hear me out. Game 5 is the Reggie Jackson game, and I would. So before I say that,
he been hooping a little bit.
Yes, yesterday unlocked Kawhi. He is now. I think this is going to be where Kawhi turns the corner and says, "All right, playoff P. You just want to be street clothes P. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna do it all."
I like that.
Game 5 is the Reggie Jackson game. Book it. Reggie's going to go off. And Game 7 to win it is going to be the Joe Ingles game. Book it.
I can't tell you how much I love
both
of those predictions. I'm down.
I'm calling that right there.
Aussie Joe, give it to me.
Second NBA roundup. Digits. Suns v Nuggets.
I'm going to take the Suns in 6 here. There has to come a point where the Nuggets losing Jamal Murray and relying on I can never say his name correctly, but
Campazzo?
Spanish TJ McConnell.
Look at you, TJ McConnell.
There's only so long. So I think this is the series where the well-oiled machine that is the Suns they're going to overwhelm the Nuggets. I think Nikola Jokic is absolutely going to show why he's the MVP. He's going to embarrass DeAndre Ayton in this series.
Yeah.
I think he's going to kind of play the Suns' biggest weakness, which is if you're able to play from the inside, then you can kind of pick them apart. But I think the Suns are every guy on that roster knows what they needed. The Suns at this point are my pick to come out of the West, and that's not even to pander to my boy or anything. I really think that they are maybe the best team left in this playoffs as a whole. So I like the Suns. I think that this Nuggets team, which is super resilient, they're super well coached. I think this is going to be a really, really fun series to watch.
It's going to be a fun series. Josh, Suns v Nuggets.
Man, I feel like this is definitely going to bite me, but I think the Suns can win in 5. Like, I'll go as far as saying Suns in 5, Max. I share your sentiment.
I teetered with saying 5. I really did.
I share the sentiment that I think Suns are coming out of the West, and they're a fun team to watch. JJ, you got lucky with this team. That Chris Paul, like, that is a good team to hit yourself to this year. But what I think it's going to be is Jokic is going to go off every game, and it's not going to be enough. Like, I just don't think the Nuggets have enough guys to play the Suns style of ball and match them. I just think the Suns are going to take care of business. Nuggets will get one at home. The altitude's scary, but I think the Suns will get one in the altitude and then take care of business when they come back home. So give me Suns in 5.
All right, JJ. CP3 and the Suns versus the Nuggets.
I almost want you to go, Banners, just so you could say the Nuggets, just so I know that I'm not. It's not going to be a clean sweep Suns across the board because we know.
Oh, what if he says the Suns? Say it now. Say it now.
I'm going Suns in 6. I mean, I'm going Suns in 6. The Nuggets are going to pull a little bit. They're going to pull a couple games out because Monte Morris has been hooping. And Austin Rivers is going to have a game and then absolutely be a ghost the rest of the series. But it's going to happen. And, it's like you said, Max, Murray's gone. Jokic just can't do it all by himself. So it's Suns in 6 for me. JJ.
I'm going to go Suns in 7. And I say that because I do think the Nuggets come out swinging in game 1. And I think Jokic just gives DeAndre Ayton too much to handle. And the Suns haven't, they don't have as much tape as they will after game 1. To really lock down and figure out what we're going to do, at least to stop everyone around Jokic and not allow him to get going. Because you don't just worry about his scoring. He makes everybody else better. But there's so many pivotal matchups to look here, Jokic, Ayton. But the matchup that I'm looking at, MPJ versus Mikal Bridges. That matchup is going to be like awesome because MPJ had his moments where he was just a pure scorer in that last series, and we all know what Mikal Bridges brings on the defensive end. So that one-on-one matchup is going to be absolutely I'm going to have my popcorn ready for that. But I'm going to say Suns in 7 because I do think the Nuggets come out, punch them in the mouth in game 1, and then the Suns have to recover from that.
Quickly before we move on, has anybody else been absolutely cashing in on Mikal Bridges over on 3-pointers made?
No, but they're low, aren't they? Like 2 or something like that.
It's 1.5.
Yeah.
Give me it's 1.5 every game. Literally just bankrolling me over here. I'm taking it every game, and my man just keeps putting money in my pocket.
I love it. Friend of the program, friend of the city. Gotta love Cal. Shout out.
Keep making me money.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Last series to get to here. We're coming back to the Eastern Conference. JJ, I'm coming right back to you, man. Nets versus Bucks.
Before this series started, I really wanted to give the Bucks. For some reason, I don't know why. I wanted them to beat the Nets. I wanted to say Bucks in 7. And then I watched yesterday the Bucks give everything they got. And the Nets at some point in the third quarter just turned it into another gear and was like looked at them and watched the Bucks panting and was like, that's all you got? Here come the afterburners. Here come that next gear of scoring late in the game, late third, early fourth quarter. That turns a 8-point Bucks lead into a 11, 12-point Nets lead before you can even blink, and they just ran away from it. Like the Bucks had them for most of that game, and then the Nets just turned it on, and it was still quiet. No one was even in the 30s for the Nets, and they still did that. So it's tough. I gotta go Nets in 6.
Max, Nets versus Bucks.
Oh, sorry, I skipped out for a second. Everyone's looking at me.
Oh,
So I know what that means. I have a feeling that we are going to see some weaknesses on the Nets defensive end. I have a feeling that this series is going to be largely dominated by the role players, and with that mindset, I kind of feel like this is going to go Nets in 7, and I think we're going to see the home team. I think we're going to see opposite of Clippers Mavs, where the home team maybe convincingly wins every single game, because quite honestly, the Bucks put up 120 plus regularly at home, and I get it that the Nets are you got to score to beat the
second highest scoring team in the league.
But let's not act like the Nets are a defensive juggernaut. That has been that's been the area to attack them all season. Regardless of which of their big three has been playing or injured or who's in or who's out or whatever. The Nets are weak defensively, so you can score against them. It's just the issue is, can you score 160 so when they score 150, you still win? So I think the Bucks are certainly capable of scoring enough to win a couple games in the series, but Game 7 at Brooklyn, it just feels like that game is going to be tough to win for Milwaukee, and I think I would edge it. I think Game 7 will be better than the other 6 games combined, probably. Right. I think we're in for a lot of blowouts in this series.
Right. Josh, real quick before you go, Max, I agree, but it just feels like for however long you can run, the Nets can just run 5 yards longer. So if you give me 120, I'm going to give you 130 just because I need to score more than you. Like, it's just the will to score points. It's like, it's just so hard. It just feels like they can outlast anybody.
Something super, super odd that I've noticed, some of all these crazy Nets highlights that have happened, especially since they've gotten Blake Griffin and everything, all these crazy Nets highlights happen in the fourth quarter. That play of the year play, that is 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's something you see when you're up 16 at home against a lottery team kind of deal. And I will agree, the Nets seem to have that never-ending supply of energy. But the issue is that maybe you can make them expend a little bit more energy if you're a little bit more aggressive on offense, and, and you're taking KD. And you're making him be a little bit more of an on-ball defender. Like we know most of those guys don't love playing defense. I think that's not unfair to say. None of them are particularly bad defenders. Kyrie and Harden are average. KD's probably a little bit above average. But those 3 guys want to put their energy into having great offensive games. They're not Ben Simmons where they take their pride on the defensive end of the floor.
Josh, Nets versus Bucks.
Yeah, I think Max, I'm siding with you here. I think you nailed it. I'm going Nets in 7 games. I can't see a way where the Bucks. I think the Bucks will win. Like, it's not going to be a sweep, but I think the Nets win this in 7. But I'm going to say the opposite of what you said. I think Game 7 is going to be like, you're going to get tired of seeing commercials. It's going to be so hyped up, and the Nets are going to win by 40 or something like that. Like, I could very much see that happening.
I can see a series just full of blowouts. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, right now it's 19-13 with 4 minutes left in the first. You're not seeing those explosive offenses to start it out. And Max, wasn't you said the role player comment? Because I think that's perfect. I mean, obviously, look, Durant, Kyrie, the firepower is ridiculous. But to me, what it comes down to is it's Bryn Forbes versus Joe Harris. And I'm going to take Joe Harris every day in that matchup. Yep. And you can go down the line and do that with, I feel like, every single player more or less on these teams until you get to Shamet, Bruce Brown,
but Shamet had himself a Game 1. But
also, big vindication for JJ. Blake Griffin was the NBA Instagram cover boy post. He was the cover boy.
What would he have? 18-8. What would he have?
Griffin dominated Game 1.
Thank you. And for my guy Max Gordon, who actually does listen to the podcast and to the program on a weekly basis, this is my time to come at you as well, because you were trying to play with Blake Griffin's name. 18-8 on your head, 18-8 on your head on the first game. Thank you. All right, I know you hate it, but 18-8 on your dome.
Yeah, wait, what was a lot of good hustle plays? A lot of good in Game 1.
Blake the Snake was out there. Come on, man.
When was the last time you talked about Blake Griffin? When he first got to the Nets, when he made that
Man,
crazy
no matter,
dunk and everybody
man.
said he was back? Was that the last time Blake Griffin had a good performance? Oh my God, that's right.
I think he averaged like 8 or 9 points in his
2 months ago. My goodness, don't do this to me, Blake Griffin. No, Blake Griffin is a corpse of himself. Don't give me the he's the
I think
poster
Blake
boy.
Griffin a lot better than we all thought.
If Blake has another game too, it's not a coincidence. If Blake has another game too, you gotta apologize after Josh apologizes.
No, it's cool. He's not going to, so I'm good on that.
Gotcha.
I'm good on that though. I'm gonna go Nets in 7 because I think this is. I get what you guys are saying. It seems like the Nets have a different gear, but you haven't seen that 6th gear for them be like, you haven't seen that over an extended period of time. We're talking about people having a 6th gear who Kevin Durant coming back from an Achilles injury over the age of 30. James Harden just re-aggravated a groin injury. Kyrie Irving could get hurt with a major injury any day of the week and twice on Sunday. It just happens. Blake Griffin is half of a corpse of himself. And then when you get to the bench, do you really want to get to the Nets bench? No, you don't. Like it's and the Bucks at least can throw out a serviceable second unit to make this series longer. So I think it comes down to a point where I actually like what you guys said. It's going to be a series of blowouts. Mostly, I'm not saying every game is going to be a blowout, but the benches are going to be quote unquote emptied, and the Bucks bench is going to keep them in this series at least survival wise. And then I think Game 7 is a blowout.
How huge is it that the Bucks lost Dante DiVincenzo? Like how big is that right now?
Big.
It's huge.
Big. It's also kind of big for me because I lost a parlay on the over on DiVincenzo boards.
So sorry, man.
Yeah, it didn't void. How shitty is that? Like it didn't void on me when
you gotta make sure it happens in the first 30 seconds of the game, like Harden the other night.
Right. Like what is this? Like you're not gonna void? Whatever. I don't need to get on that soapbox. Oh boy, that's gonna be it for our second half rapid fire. We're gonna get into tap outs now. Who wants to? You know what? I'll go first. I'll go first real quick. The city of Philadelphia is offering $50,000 to 36 lucky people for getting vaccinated for COVID-19. Okay?
Okay.
What I gotta do?
Tell me more.
What I gotta do? What I gotta do?
36 lucky people. There's a link in the bio of NBC Philly. Link in that bio to sign up to incentivize people to get
what if
the
we're already
COVID-19 vaccination.
If
you're already vaccinated, you can still sign up. Don't worry. I have signed up.
I'll get revaccinated if I need to. Just let me know.
I get 100 vaccinations.
I would like $50,000 as much as the next guy. But as a tax-paying citizen, is that really where my taxes are going? Because that's a good. Because wait. So you told me one, I could have waited until. Well, no, I still would have gotten the vaccination, but like, you know what I mean? Like now we're doing this, boys. And two, didn't like 78% of the schools in Philadelphia test positive for lead in their walls and water this year?
Yeah, we're just giving 50,000 out. Yeah.
And we're just giving out 50 grand to 30 people. Just like, here you go.
Yeah, that's insane.
So
30 different. So 50 grand spread among 30 people, or 30 individual people get $50,000.
No, 50 apiece.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
For taking 2 needles to the look.
Yo, you gotta cut this.
Send me the link.
Can you cut this? I don't want anyone out about this. Can you cut this?
really?
Dude, I'll get it again. I'll get the booster now.
Yeah, I'll go J for 50,000. You can be J&J.
Shoot,
give me the one off.
Give me a little salad shot. I'll take a little bit of all of them if I need to.
I'll throw a little smallpox and mesothelioma in there.
You want to see how all 3 react at the same time? You want to give me 3 needles? Cool.
That's fine.
That's my tap out.
I'll go next. You can see it on my board right back here. It is Allen Iverson's birthday today. His 48th birthday. Man, OG is getting up there. But I actually just put this together today that yesterday was the 20-year anniversary of the step over, which means 20 years ago, Allen Iverson went into LA, put 47, 48 on Kobe and Shaq's head, gave us gave us one of the most iconic moments in NBA history, and then woke up and celebrated a birthday in LA the next day. That's just, you can't write it better than that. You can't write it better than that. Happy birthday, Bubba Chuck. Happy birthday to the most iconic Philadelphia athlete maybe of all time, man.
No maybe about
what, only 7 more years until that 50 grand from Reebok comes in, brother. So hang on. It's on the way.
Can't wait.
And for a man that
going up 7 years from today.
It's going up. It's going up.
For a man that routinely dropped over 10 grand at Applebee's, we can all imagine what that birthday must have been like.
Oh my goodness. The TGI Friday on Ben Franklin Parkway right now is probably going stupid.
Oh man, that City Line Ave Applebee's was
going stupid.
Was making out good. But Josh and or Max to tap us out.
I'll tap it out. I gotta trust the process live related tap out. In fact,
okay,
because I had to call someone out. I just have to call someone out, and it's not any one of us on here. No siree.
It better not be.
Friend of the show and former member of the show, Mr. E.T.
Oh boy!
He's coming at.
Not this.
Okay, buckle up.
Not this, dude.
E.T. came on the show. You know, he came in here late and left as soon as he could. And he acted like I was crazy for saying the Lakers were cooked. He acted like I was absolutely bonkers and talked down to me for an entire hour because I said the Lakers were cooked. And you know what? All of you aren't out of it. You guys all kind of talked like I was crazy too. All right. But let's just take a look at what happened to the Lakers. Oh, what's that? They didn't even make it out of the first round. So yeah, all right, Mr. E.T., maybe you'll listen to me with, maybe a more open mind next time when I call the Lakers cooked. That is my tap out.
Josh, I applaud you, man.
Yeah, wow.
Stand up for yourself.
I should have went first because I just had something like very light and casual. Like I was just gonna tell everyone, like, as someone who I didn't get my license until after high school, so I was always like the walk places guy or get picked up. But I had a lot of friends in my general walking vicinity, so I was like the good walk growing up, and I've kind of gotten back on that kick over the last month or so. So I was just gonna go tell everyone to go enjoy a walk. Maybe not one of these days where it's 95 degrees out, but like go take a walk just around your neighborhood and get some fresh air. Like take an actual walk, no cars with the windows down. Throw some music in if you're alone. If you're not, have a conversation about something. Trust me, you'll enjoy it.
There we go.
Love that, Josh. I gotta commend you for being bold, but I'm not sure you quite understand what you just opened.
What you just backed up, man.
Yeah, what you just opened yourself up to, man. I can't really edit this graphic while it's on screen, but you might want to take that social media handle out of there.
I want it.
Man, stand up for yourself.
Bring me the smoke.
Give him the smoke.
Yeah, I'll give you credit for that. That's going to do it for us this week. Again, another shout out to PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience. Shout out to those guys over there. That's going to do it for us here at Trust the Process Live. As always, we are brought to you by My New Philly, where something's always new and everything's always Philly. Have a good week, everybody. We'll see you back next time. And again, you can find us wherever you get your podcast, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, or wherever it is. Trust the Process Live, TTPL Philly. You know how to find us. See you next week, Philly.
Smooth as always, Banners. Great work.
I try.